Today I want to look at the idea and the concept of freedom. It is something that seems to be very, very oversold and very misunderstood. And ironically, I think that chasing it can often lead people down the wrong path, lead to discontentment and dissatisfaction. There's a lot of research now that is starting to show that basically the more choice that we have, the less happy and the less satisfied we are with our lives. So this seems to be a conflict with the idea of freedom, where the greater the freedom we have, the more choice we have. And so it depends on what you mean and how you define freedom. So there's many different definitions of this. But for me, I think that in the entrepreneurial world, so many people believe that freedom is about creating choice. That is, I can do what I want, when I want, with who I want. And that's their definition of freedom. And no matter who you are, no matter how much money you want, that you get, that's never really quite the case. There's always some limitations within that framework. Now, the other thing to point out is that for me, the real problem with the concept of freedom is that the moment that you actually create freedom, you now have given up all responsibility. And that you find that the people who are really happy with their lives, the ones that really contribute towards society, often they have a lot of responsibilities. Well, with responsibilities, you're removing freedom. And so it's this kind of paradox that actually to create a life of meaning, to create a life of value, to actually create a life of real, genuine happiness, we actually need to sacrifice our freedom. And we need to be able to create commitment. We need to be able to create responsibility. And, so for example, I often use the, famous people, obviously, because they're people we can relate to. But people like Richard Branson or, Elon Musk or whoever else, these guys have a lot of responsibilities. They have a lot of commitments. And so they're often very much booked up in advance. So they can't just go wherever they want, whenever they want, because otherwise it means they wouldn't be delivering on the responsibilities that they've taken on. And it's those responsibilities that have allowed them to achieve so much. So perhaps the best way we can think about freedom is more about this idea that really freedom is the freedom to choose what we commit to. But once we've made that commitment, we now need to see that commitment through to actually create any real sense of satisfaction or create any real value. So while a lot of people are stuck within, yes, okay, I'm stuck in this life, I have these limited options, etc., etc., it's really important to understand that freedom is more about a mental state, and it's more about our ability. If we really want to achieve something, it's not about trying to create more freedom. It's actually about choosing what we want to commit to, and then committing to that. And now we're going to find a sense of satisfaction. Now we're going to create something of value. Now we're going to find a life of meaning and of purpose. So today is really just talking about this concept of freedom and trying to redefine it for ourselves so that it actually becomes useful instead of being a bit of a false god, instead of chasing this illusion that really for most people is so poorly defined, yet it's what they're aiming for. The number of books that talk about achieving freedom, and yet so few people I have actually ever spoken to have really identified what freedom really means to them, or even thought about if they were to achieve it, would it really be what they wanted? Would it really deliver the expected result? And I think in most cases the answer is no. So just take some time to reflect on this and to think about what freedom means to you and how you would see it play out in your life.